Hello YouTube, it's Sign here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another episode review for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Today we're going to be looking at episode 6, and I only want to talk about episode 6. I do want to talk about it a little bit in the context of the whole TV show, but mostly just in and of itself. I do want to do a whole review video for the whole series at a later date, probably next Saturday or Sunday, depending on however I manage to release it, because I do want to give myself time to watch the whole series again. I've basically watched every episode twice, once to kind of get hype and once to kind of figure out what I'm feeling about it after the fact. And I need to do that for the whole series one more time and also see if I can experience it a little bit better by watching it all, in a binge. Because, in terms of, time, content-wise, it's only about 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, if I remember correctly. So it's just a very long movie. I want to see if that makes it better than having to wait a whole week between episodes. I'm curious, and so I want to do that before I can do a proper review. But, so that's why we're only going to be focusing on the last episode here, and I'm going to do a secondary video where it's just going to be the review of the whole series for sure. So, other than that, what do I have to do? Oh, I do apologize if I sound weird or the lighting is bad. For sounding weird, it's because I got COVID this week on Tuesday, June 21st, I think is the day it was. And I got it because my mom got COVID from some kids that she works with, and then she gave everyone in my house COVID. The reason there's bad lighting is because I don't have a secondary light source here in my room, because I am visiting my parents for the summer, because I came home when school ended. Then I went back up to my apartment in Dallas to get some stuff done that I needed to do over there, and then I came back for the rest of the summer because I don't have any summer courses this semester, so there was no point in being away from my parents, and so I wanted to come visit them. And kind of regretting that now because I did get COVID from coming down here. I could have avoided this whole situation. But that's why I'm under the weather. That's why my recording conditions are slightly different from what you're probably all used to if you've been seeing all of my other Obi-Wan Kenobi things. And let's just get into the video because it's already been 3 minutes and I haven't talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi just yet. So, there's a lot of good things in this episode. There's also a lot of bad things, and I want to start with the bad things so that we can end on a positive note. The major bad thing is the Reva character. Again, I think I'm beating it at horse here, but I don't really like this character at all. And actually, that's not necessarily true. I don't like them at all in this show. I think that the storyline of the character is not that bad. I mean, it's basically just a very condensed, slightly, different version of the Anakin storyline, because it's just a kid has a family, gets that family taken away from them. They have force powers. They end up being evil and they want revenge, and then they decide to come back to the light at one point. You could also say that she's kind of like a shitty Darth Maul clone. She's basically just every Darksider that isn't Palpatine, all mashed up into one. And that's not really necessarily a bad thing. It's just not very exciting. And it also doesn't have enough of the poetry aspect of it that, Star Wars is very well known for. Because one time there was this thing where George Lucas was saying that, it has to be like poetry, it rhymes. And so now everyone wants to make Star Wars basically be like the same story beats over and over again. And I don't necessarily have a problem with this in Star Wars. I just think that sometimes, you really have to not do that, and sometimes you do, and I think that Obi-Wan was the time when you should have done that, but also the time when you should have not really introduced secondary, rhyming characters. Like Reva is basically a secondary rhyming character, which is not an actual term in any filmmaking or anything like that. I don't know any of that type of stuff, but I'm talking about it in the context of Star Wars. She is a rhyming character for Anakin Skywalker, right? She is supposed to basically be the very condensed arc of Anakin in the prequels into a character, just so that we can have that character go in one direction and have Darth Vader go in another to cement Darth Vader into a more menacing figure, which is exactly what happens in this episode, and then to have Obi-Wan kind of get to see the resolution that he wanted without having to change the canon of the story, which is save the evil Padawan character from their own hate, but also not make Darth Vader not a bad guy anymore, right? And I think that this is a problem because no one that wanted to watch this show came in wanting to see Obi-Wan save Anakin, because that breaks the canon and everyone likes Darth Vader. So introducing this character that is supposed to function as this device makes no sense. Also, it just wasn't handled that well. And honestly, the worst part was that you would break the tension of the Obi-Wan and Anakin / Darth Vader fight scene, which is supposed to be the big action piece of this story, which was actually not that great to begin with, although it was probably one of the best parts of the show anyways. You cut the tension of that by changing the story to Reva, and she has a very shitty, not very important plot at all, because she's going after Luke Skywalker. And you know what happens to Luke Skywalker? Nothing, because he's not going to die, because he's going to be fine in 9 years when he has to start A New Hope. So what the hell is the point of going there? Because you're kind of doing this resolution thing, but I don't care about Reva because she was just introduced to me basically one episode ago, because the first 4 episodes, Reva was a mystery box character, and she wasn't doing anything meaningful except being a really shitty bad antagonist, right? Because she doesn't really compare to the menacing presence of Darth Vader, or the very ideological presence of the Grand Inquisitor, or just the sheer intimidation factor of the fifth brother, which, okay, like in live action, he kind of just looks like Sun Kang without having too much intimidation to him, but he's at least an alien that doesn't look human, and so he's intimidating by the fact that he is not human. And so she fails at being a meaningful bad guy, and she also fails at being a meaningful character at all, because we don't care about this character, because she is not relevant to what I and a lot of fans wanted to see from this TV show, right? So that's why I don't like the Reva character. I don't really care about her that much. If this was a separate show, if this was Star Wars Inquisitors, and we followed this girl that basically got murdered by Anakin, and then she managed to funnel enough dark side energy to survive that wound, and then make it out of the temple, and then make it to Anakin, and then try to kill him, and then he decides that she is good enough to be an Inquisitor, and then we get to see the Reva storyline that we saw without having to interfere with Obi-Wan. I would have actually liked Reva a lot, because that everything about Reva seems to be interesting from like a paper perspective. Like if you write it out, it's like, oh shit, man, that's super cool. It rhymes with Star Wars. It definitely fits a storyline of Star Wars. It's about redemption. It's about, revenge. It's about, falling to the dark side, and how the dark side actually corrupts you and is not meaningful. And it actually is worse, and then you have to show compassion and all these types of things. And it would have been really cool. It would have been really interesting, because you could have had her as the main character for Star Wars Inquisitors. You could have also had a lot of expansion about all of the lore for Star Wars Inquisitor type characters. You could have had, Sheev show up. You could have had Palpatine show up, the Emperor. And you could have had, the Night Sisters, and you could have had, some flashbacks to Dooku or whatever. You could have had a bunch of cool stuff there. But instead, they shoved her into the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and made her less meaningful, because that is not the character that people want to see. We want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan. And so her being in the show was bad. I didn't really like it. I didn't like it in this episode, specifically just because her B plotline in Tatooine was useless. I didn't really care about it at all. There were some cool things that came out of it, but in general, there just wasn't anything of value that was in that in the set of scenes that she was in. So that was about 15 minutes of the episode that I didn't really care for, which is a lot for a show that only has about 40 minutes of actual screen stuff, of actual action, I guess is what you would call it, of actual show. which is kind of sad because that's, what's that, 15 out of 40, it would be like 20%, right? Let's see, 40, so 10% is 4, and then 15 would be 15%, so I don't know, like 20% of the show is not important, which kind of sucks, right? So yeah, I don't know. That was the main part that I didn't really like. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. And this is the next kind of segment here is the Qui-Gon Jinn cameo. Now, was it exciting and was it fun to see Qui-Gon Jinn show up the way he did? Yes. Was it kind of in character? I guess also yes. Because Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi had this kind of sassy, like, relationship in The Phantom Menace. However, storytelling-wise, like, what I wanted to see out of this show, I am quite unhappy with this cameo. Like, was it a cool moment? Yes. Did I do the thing where I pointed at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio? Yes. But I'm actually really unsatisfied with the way that they made him appear, because he could have been a driving force for Obi-Wan, a way to get Obi-Wan to overcome all of these difficulties that he has throughout the whole show. You know, remove all of the Reva stuff, and you have about 3 more, or like an hour of content that you have to fill in. How do you fill that in? You can use Qui-Gon Jinn to push Obi-Wan Kenobi forward, but I'll talk about that in my actual review of the whole series as a whole. In this episode, I don't really dislike the scene, but I think that it would have been better to just see Qui-Gon Jinn a lot more, and this scene turns out to be bittersweet for me, because did I like it? Yes. Did my, prequel loving heart squeal? Yes. Am I satisfied with the amount of Qui-Gon Jinn that we got? No, not at all. I don't really find it to be meaningful enough. Was it fun? Yes. Meaningful? No. Did I like the hello there scene? Yes, I did like the hello there scene. However, I'm kind of concerned because, there's the scene in the moment where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, where Obi-Wan uses thoughts and memories of Luke Skywalker to gain strength and resolve. And this doesn't feel meaningful if Obi-Wan hasn't ever met Luke Skywalker. Like, right now, his only connection to Luke is that he told Yoda he was going to take care of him, and that he's taking care of his brother's son, right? Like, there really isn't an actual connection with the kid himself. And so remembering the kid actually isn't going to give him more resolve, more force power, like it seemed to do. Like, his connection with Leia is definitely established in the show. She is basically, like a daughter figure for him in the moment in the show. And so seeing her in his moment of weakness makes a lot of sense. He is trying to protect her, and that's cool. But Luke is a kid that apparently he has never interacted with in 10 years. And so I don't feel that it was meaningful to bring him up. Also, just anything to do with Luke didn't really feel that great for me. The Beru and Owen scenes were cool. I actually thought that Beru was a bad bitch for showing up and just pulling out guns out of the wall. I thought it was awesome. However, doesn't this just make it worse that they got charbroiled in The New Hope? Like, I don't know. It doesn't work that well. Like, that scene doesn't work anymore, because you would assume that there'd be some stormtrooper bodies, right? Like, if they manage to fight off a Inquisitor, they should manage to fight off some really shitty stormtroopers, right? So, I don't know. I didn't really dislike it. I actually thought it was really cool. However, Owen trying to beat an Inquisitor with a rod of metal doesn't seem that intelligent of him, but I don't know, it's whatever. What else? What other scenes are there? Oh, so the big scene that I liked is, of course, the duel. And generally, the duel was good. I actually really enjoyed the vast majority of it. However, there were some issues that I had. So, I don't like the setting at all. Usually, the setting of the fights, at least from the prequels, not necessarily into the originals, has to do with one of the issues that one of the characters is facing, right? Like, in the Phantom Menace, the Naboo corridor things that had the, ray shields were supposed to be a physical representation of Obi-Wan's impatience, right? We get to see Obi-Wan upset that he is away from his master. We get to see that Obi-Wan wants to, he's kind of zealous about like trying to get rid of Darth Maul, and it all ultimately ends up costing him. And so these barriers are physical representations of his impatience, right? And the cave where they fight Count Dooku is, of course, a bit of a representation of Anakin's darkness post, his mother's death. It's the gaping hole left by his mother's death, and also the entrance into the underworld for Anakin, the entrance into his sorrow and the dark side for him. And, of course, Mustafar is a physical representation of the anger that Anakin is now feeling, and, of course, the fury that Obi-Wan is eliciting, and also you could say that Obi-Wan has in this moment, right? Trying to deal with the fact that he has to kill his brother. I don't necessarily have a good understanding about how the fight with Obi-Wan and Grievous is supposed to represent anything. I can't think of a good way to, kind of explain it. But it is at least an interesting setting where, there's a lot of different changes of, altitudes and latitudes and, kind of different ways of moving around. And the point of what I'm trying to say is that the setting of this fight is pretty uninspired. It doesn't really feel cool. And you would assume that it would feel cool because they deliberately stopped on a specific planet, right? Like this planet could have been anything. It could have been a place where there was a raging storm. It could have been a place where, the sun was only just about to rise or just about to fall, and they're trying to beat out this either rise of the light or fall into the darkness in their duel, right? There could have been a physical representation of the struggle that they're going through, and we didn't see that. We got to see these really shitty rocks all over the place, which for some reason made a Lego breaking sound when they would tap them with their lightsabers, which is kind of just ugly. I didn't really like that. It really took me out that they all sounded exactly the same, and that every time a lightsaber swung through them or into them, they would make this Lego cracking sound. I thought it was really weird. Also, the fact that they would explode on contact with lightsabers instead of just being sliced through, this is just really weird. Do they not know how lightsabers work in the show? Did they just not think about them? We know that they slice through things because it sliced through Uncle Owen's stick. So why can't it slice through these rocks? Is someone gonna have to tell me that these rocks are special? They're they have some Mandalorian iron in them or something, and that's why they crumble / break like Lego bricks when you hit them. That's just really weird. I don't really like that at all. I also don't really like the Obi-Wan earthbending scene, when he just raises all the rocks. I think it's a cool visual. I think it is interesting, but the way it looks, it's not good. He's throwing these rocks and they're just kind of pelting him, but they look really fast for a foot of distance that there is between them. Also, Anakin is significantly stronger than Obi-Wan in the Force. The point of Anakin is that he has so much Force power that not even Yoda has as much natural Force ability as him, right? And Yoda manages to beat Anakin in terms of Force power because he has 800 years, 900 years of experience compared to Anakin. And Obi-Wan also manages to duel Anakin to a standstill on Mustafar because of two reasons, right? Obi-Wan has a lot of patience and practice with the Force. He practices so much more with the Force than basically any other Jedi because he is weak in the Force. He doesn't have a lot of midichlorians. At least that's what I remember. I don't know if this is based on Legends knowledge, but I do remember this being the case. And also because he trained with Anakin so much, he spent so much time with Anakin that he basically knew Anakin's fighting style back to front. Also the fact that Anakin is either a Demso or what's the other one? Shin, Demso, or Fapod user, and Obi-Wan is a Sorosu user, so one's extreme attack and the other one is extreme defense. They basically cancel each other out, right? And so Obi-Wan overwhelming Anakin with a force attack doesn't really make sense to me, although I guess technically speaking, Anakin has less force ability now than before because he got his legs and arm chopped off, and so his force ability is greatly diminished, but I'm pretty sure it's not so diminished that Obi-Wan would manage to, be equal to him in this time period at this way, especially not after not being someone that used the Force for over 10 years, as we got to see at the beginning of the show. So I don't know. I just thought it was a little too hard to believe in terms of like the logic established in the show and like in the logic established in Star Wars about how Anakin and Obi-Wan interact. I just thought it was really weird that Obi-Wan could manage to attack Anakin that way. But the scene where, he cuts his visor open, it was really great. I actually really liked that part. I thought it was really meaningful, and actually was the one part of the story that I think managed to land, because I had been wanting something like this for the whole show. Like, I wanted the whole show to be basically set up to culminate in a moment like this, where you get to see Anakin on one side and Obi-Wan on the other across all 6 episodes, remembering and trying to forget in some cases, and just understanding each other through, the Force or whatever, as they go through all of these flashbacks, as Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are trying to find a weakness in Anakin, or try to find Anakin within Darth Vader so that they can try to bring him back to the light so that he can be, good once again. And this was the only moment that really delivered. So, I don't know. I think that's it. There really isn't too much else to say. I liked when Darth Vader broke the ground. I didn't like that it took Obi-Wan forever to fall into the ground, because he could have actually jumped by the time that, the ground crumbled under him, but, whatever. The fight choreography was also a little bit off for me. At some points, it felt like Obi-Wan, or like Ewan McGregor, would do a move slightly faster than he was supposed to, or earlier than he was supposed to, and he would just strike a pose to wait for whoever was in the Darth Vader suit to finish the attack so that they could go back to clashing. However, there's some cool, sweet, Star Wars moves. There was that one where basically Obi-Wan was acting like Anakin. He was using the, spin over the back kind of thing. He blocked like Anakin, where over like his head, in that one promotional picture where Anakin is like standing and he looks like a stripper because he's like standing like this, right? Which is like him blocking a force, not a force attack, a lightsaber strike. And what else? There was a few other cool little lightsaber scenes. But generally, even though I liked this episode quite a lot, I thought it was one of the better episodes of the series. I am still a little bit disappointed by this episode. Mostly just the Reva stuff. I think everything else was okay, palatable enough, or at least cool enough that I didn't really have any major issues with it. And honestly, when it comes to Star Wars, I have a huge amount of goodwill for it, so I am willing to let a lot of things slide as long as at least something delivers for me. And something did deliver for me, it's just not enough. And so that's kind of how I'm feeling about this show. So I'm going to make a whole actual review video at some point here later in the week. Hopefully I'll get it out by next Saturday when I go on my vacation to Mexico. I'm not too sure. I don't know. I hope I will be able to make it, but if I don't, I'll make the video after I come back. Which actually might be better, because that way I'll have a lot of time to ruminate about the issues that I have with the show. But then at that point, no one will care, because it's already going to be a month from the end of the show. So I don't know. There's kind of this balance that I have to strike. So yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out on my own. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.